We're live right now at our new time, Wednesdays, 6 p.m. Pacific, 6:06 on the dot. As you'll notice, time for the podcast. Very exciting. Alphabet. I mean, you guys, it's like A to Zinc. It's the whole thing. All right, let's start the show.
Centuries, we've been warned about little green men. Now, they are coming. They're coming for you. Prepare for the attack of the android.
Hey, what's up, everybody? It's Wednesday, August 12th, 2015. Says episode 165, Attacking the Androids. Every week, Wednesday evening, 6 p.m. Pacific, attackingtheandroids.com/live. Check it out. I'm Matt Lee. That's Eric Finkenbeiner. What's up, Eric?
Not much, Matt. How are you? Did you say you're fine?
I would.
Okay.
I'm fine. How are you? Are you good? You fine?
It's fine. Yeah, I'm fine, Matt. Thanks for asking.
Good to hear it. Joey Kelly also joining us. Joey, how are you? Are you fine?
I am so unbelievably fine. If I was any finer, I'd spoil.
That's fine. Nick Carroll also joining us. Nick Carroll, how are you? Are you fine, Nick? Nick Carroll frozen, perhaps? Bandwidth issues?
It's that Chromebook.
Ooh. Time to upgrade Nick's system with a real mic and a computer. That's right. We'll get him back here. All sorts of interesting stuff happening. Eric, where would you like to start off? I mean, probably the big news of the week.
What would be the big news of the week? BlackBerry's Android smartphone? Is
Either
that the big news you're talking about?
Yeah, perhaps either that or SoundCloud getting Chromecast support. That's pretty big news.
Yeah. You know, actually, hold on. I did hear about this one story. Have you ever heard of the alphabet? Like, not the alphabet that they taught you in kindergarten. Oh, you didn't even hear about the one in kindergarten, huh?
No.
Oh, that's messed up.
Really?
Well, we'll save that for another podcast. But there is a different alphabet. It's Google's alphabet. And Google's alphabet is this big company now that is the umbrella company for everything that used to be Google.
Umbrella Corps?
Umbrella, no, not that one either. That would suck. But actually, Z could be for zombie.
Hey,
That's
so,
not a bad...
Eric, could you just give us the 5-second summary version of what the restructuring of Google actually means?
I'd prefer to give the 20-minute version of that, but I'll try the 5.
Roundabout way. Sundar, he owns Google now. Alphabet owned by the other guys. Any other questions? Moving on. No, please, Eric. Actually, Nick Carroll joining us. Nick got bandwidth back on the Chromebook. What's up, Nick? How you doing? Good?
Yeah, I'm doing better. My computer, my Hangouts thought that I fell asleep because it was loading everything up in the browser. So sorry about that.
No worries. Good to have you talking about Alphabet and what that means. Eric was just about to explain. Eric, how are you doing? Go.
Yes, okay, so all joking aside, Alphabet, the umbrella corporation that is now over Google and all these other things that used to be part of Google. So Sundar Pichai has now risen, the guy that used to be over, what was it, like Chrome, and then he was over Chrome and Android. Now he's over everything that is Google. So this new Google consists of Android, YouTube, the advertising segment, like the main things we think of Google. But Alphabet, so they are G. They are G in the alphabet. But then there's other things that are part of Alphabet. You have Google X Labs. They are now something separate. You have Nest, which is something separate. I forget what they're calling it. I'm looking in the article, but I think the stuff that what's his name, the Singularity guy. Come on, Matt, help me out. You know who this guy is.
Ray Kurzweil.
Kurzweil. That fucking nut. His little health thing is a separate part of Alphabet.
So are there Are there actually 23 things? 24? How many letters are in the alphabet now? How many letters are we working with these days? 23?
In my alphabet, there's 80.
Okay.
But in the, we'll call it the English alphabet, there's 26.
For lack of a better term, makes sense.
Yeah, I don't like it, but I'll call it that.
We got a couple more in there since I last checked. 26 now?
Yeah.
Damn. This is going to change weed reviews. I'm going to have like 2 other whole letters to use now. What are they?
X
All right.
and Y and
Okay.
Z.
Interesting. Interesting.
Which, if you want to see what's going on with this new company, you can go to their website, which is abc.xyz, because it looks like Google owns that little, top-level domain, which is great. So, yeah, I mean, I think that's... Oh, and I should mention, I think, Joey, you may have mentioned it in passing, or maybe Matt did, that now Larry and Sergey, the founders of Google, are now the CEO and president of Alphabet. And, yeah. So what do you guys think? Is this a good thing? Bad thing? Are you meh about the whole thing? Nick?
I'm kind of meh about it. I mean, I guess we'll see how it goes. I mean, but I don't know what it really means for the company in the short term. So,
All right, what do you think, Joey?
This is one of those things where there's about 14 different sides to this. There's the investor side, there's the R&D side, there's the mature product side. There are incredible possibilities here, and there are incredible differences. And who's calling me? Quite frankly, this probably is going to be a good thing long term. I ran into this for the first time with one person that I never thought I would run into, and he actually said, "Google knows enough about me. I don't need to use their DNS server." So, okay, fine, maybe you don't, and there are other options, but he did have a point that some people are paranoid about a single monolithic entity having all of this knowledge and product data and whatnot. And it's possible that that reaction was being felt more and more, got bigger and bigger and offered more and more. I decided to nip it in the bud and the company up. It's also that they looked at things like Microsoft and the trouble that they have had over the years with the EU and the antitrust lawsuits and whatnot, and said, okay, before this becomes an issue, we're going to go ahead and divide the company up and do it on our own terms before it becomes a problem. And that's an option. That's a possibility. Overall, I don't think a lot is going to change immediately. But long term, this could actually benefit everything, because now there's going to be a greater focus within each sub-company on either creating new stuff or maintaining what we already know and love.
Yeah, I tend to agree that it's a good thing. I agree with that point. I feel like it's sort of a ruse if you look at it and think that that in any way that Google is becoming smaller. In reality, like this is setting the stage to make like a huge company. Yeah. Like they're already talking about expanding to like other unused letters of the alphabet, and
this is OC.
Yeah, I mean,
this is them being able to do what they want to do as far as like advertising and all that, and not have that conflict of interest, have like antitrust lawsuits. It's them decoupling it, but then still holding it under, I guess, the umbrella.
Yeah. Well, they're considering coming out with their own automotive company, like Ford, etc., Tesla, all that. So, we may have another Google Auto, but under a completely different name, without Google, in the brand name. So it'd be interesting to see how that turns out.
Well, I mean, from a managerial standpoint too, I mean, it makes a lot of sense. You're not Like, I mean, this is one of the problems with that Microsoft has had. Like, you have this huge monolithic thing,
Yeah.
and
It's harder
I'm
to
being
fit
called
in.
out in the chat room saying plagiarism because I said that this is setting the stage for a huge company. It was my thought first. Fuck you, chat room. Thank
Ooh,
you.
I like that. Fuck you, chat room. I'll get behind that statement. Nice. Nice. When I say chat room.
Is that like that?
I'm
Is that like that
leading my
meme that goes
brother.
around America? Yeah.
Fuck yes, it is, Joe. Fuck yes, it is.
Yeah, so I think it's a good thing, and investors think it's a good thing too, because the stock price for Google spiked 6% upon the news. So people seem to think that this is a great idea.
Well, plus if something fails, it won't reflect on Google. It'll reflect on Alphabet, or really that company itself. So it sort of contains any failure. So
I saw something else that made sense. I forget which article it was from, but I'm not going to plagiarize like Eric clearly did. But I will just say it was from the internet somewhere, and they basically said it will also allow them to be able to have these other moonshot projects and not be under pressure to actually make money. Making money is so overrated. But then they can focus on maybe letting things live out a little longer, like Google Plus, perhaps, or maybe not. I do like Google Photos lately. Hopefully, it doesn't ever get taken down. But on the Hotbox podcast, it has its own Google Plus page for the YouTube, Hangouts, right? So for all these weed reviews, I take a bunch of pictures, and only a few get used. So I'm like, oh, I'll make an album for each strain and just throw them all up there. So I definitely hope a lot of that stuff around, and I guess maybe not necessarily Google Plus, although it was a good way for search stuff. I guess have your posts in Google as well as Facebook and everything. But Hangouts and photos, those should stick around, I hope, because all of my photos are there.
We hope. Now, one interesting one thing that is being spun off, but it's not going to be part of Alphabet, is Niantic Labs. So the folks that do why am I blanking? They do Ingress, amongst one or two other small things.
Because you haven't played it in like a year.
No, it doesn't make sense for me to play Ingress. Like I'm gonna chew up, all the phone plans that I'm on, if we can use that term. Like it's a top-up system, so like I run out of things. I put more money on it, so I'm not gonna waste my internet playing a game.
Can we have a show of hands real quick? Do any of you guys play Ingress anymore?
no.
No, Joey?
I never got started.
Yeah,
What?
same here.
It's so new for you guys. Y'all should play and then get sick of it a year later like I did.
Well,
I
at
thought it
the
was
time
fun.
my phone sucked so bad that it was useless.
Ah, that is true. I've seen Ant struggle through some pretty horrible hacks in Las Vegas because of that same issue. I feel your pain.
It made my phone too damn hot.
It does that, right? You're running your GPS and cells and like it's rendering graphics. Like that's a lot of shaking process.
Speaking of making your phone hot, some moron has come out with a case to make your phone look like a gun.
Oh yeah, I saw that.
I think this is a great idea.
This has got to be the dumbest thing I have ever heard or seen. Okay, so let me set the scenario for you. You've got your phone in your back pocket attached to your gun case, which makes it look like you have a friendly, 9mm stuffed in your back pocket. You walk into a bank. You get shot because you appear to have a gun.
Well, now we
You're
should
stupid.
also say though that this isn't for our African American friends. This is probably a white person toy, I suppose, right? You wouldn't catch Aunt Pruitt from Smartphone Photographers carrying something like this around, right?
I don't think anyone wants to pull that out. So yeah.
No, you would never pull out your phone.
The case is going to have a warning label that says, "Do not buy if you're a brother."
That pretty much. I'm gonna ask Ant about that. If you guys are watching live, you'll see it there. Yeah, I mean, it's not like bright colored like a toy or anything. It's pretty much is that like a 38 handle? Or like a
It could
38?
be. It depends upon the size of the phone that they're using in the picture. So it could be anything from a 22 to probably a 9mm at the biggest.
Yeah.
But
Listen, is this any worse than a toy gun? Because on a toy gun, the only thing that distinguishes it from a real gun is typically the orange cap at the end.
yeah,
So,
but
I mean,
did you see the guys, the smart Alex that put an Uzi inside of a Super Soaker?
Wow.
You guys
Okay.
any
What can we do about people's stupidity, though, Joey?
Well, no. They weren't using it as a stupidity. They were using it as a way to smuggle a gun into some place that wasn't supposed to have one because they figured it would look like a plastic squirt gun.
Hold up.
So
First
they.
of all,
Yeah.
hold up. No, this is America. Every place is supposed to have guns. So I don't know where you were when you saw that. Probably Canada or something.
We do love our guns.
Second of all, this shit looks pretty dope. I mean, you're rolling around with your black shirt tucked in, jeans out, pocket, just a handle of a gun hanging out, but it's your phone. Fashion.
Why not? And if any cops shoot you for that, I'm pretty sure that's cut and dry. If it's in your back pocket.
Yeah, you probably can't expect like a protest or like a moment of silence or anything like that. I mean, you may, if anything, Darwin Award. That's probably the most
Yeah.
for with something
Well,
like so.
To read the article in question, the first couple of paragraphs, this is from Mobile Syrup, which appears to be a Canadian mobile website. Beachgoers in Selkirk, Manitoba, were frightened enough to call the police on a man they suspected was walking around with a handgun exposed. But when the RCMP, which is the Royal Canadian Mounted Police, arrived, guns and rifles drawn to counter the potential threat, they found a 34-year-old man with an iPhone nestled safely inside a perfectly safe handgun-shaped phone case.
A man
So,
or a
in other words, he was... Huh?
A man or a bro? Would a man
They don't make a distinction.
seems like a bro toy. I'm just saying. And look where the warning is. Jersey, like, yeah, really? That's who's I'm not trying to like never mind. This is stupid.
Well, how can they find them and confiscate them though? Like this is my
Canada doesn't give a fuck.
No,
They're
this is New Jersey, you said.
Right, but where it happened was Canada.
Yeah, well, I can imagine the Canadians getting worked up about it. I get that.
They just posted a warning on Facebook. That's all. They were like,
keep reading.
When you're at the beach, like, watch out for this.
Yeah, bro.
No?
There's some crazy guy rolling up with guns in his case, bro. Watch out.
Shane Brady. He had an iPhone case in the shape of a gun.
Yeah, Shane. Weigh in on this.
Shane Brady joining us. I'll show you the picture, Shane, just so you know what we're talking about here. Would you rock this? Would you pack that heat in your back pocket?
I would never carry an iPhone.
You know that looks good hanging out your back pocket. Makes you look like a real man. You're not going to get mugged.
Shane keys
That-
in
that
He's like,
gentleman
oh, that's
was
horrible.
commenting tonight right there. I would never carry an iPhone. The gun case has no relevance to Shane. It's just the iPhone.
I mean,
He's
it
a
looks
man of
pretty.
principle.
No, but I
It
would
looks
never.
pretty fake. I mean, it doesn't
Thank
really
you.
look like a gun.
Yeah, but here's the thing. If you didn't know what an actual gun looked like and you saw that, it would look a whole heck of a lot more like a gun than, like a phone.
Well, yeah, that's because it's in the shape of a gun, not a phone. Duh. Oh,
Would you feel
alright.
the same if it was an iPhone that was actually a gun?
If it was a Moto X first gen, I'd be like, that's dope. I got one of those. I could rock that thing right out of my pants.
Yeah, you're just pissed because it won't fit your phone.
I know.
I'm just surprised this happened in Canada. Like, I didn't think they had the fear of guns up there.
The
Like,
good thing it did, though, because if it would have happened in America, people would have got shot, and you know that.
I actually think that they have tighter gun control laws up there than we do. I
America.
think. But I could be wrong.
yes, but they're also much more polite. So normally you wouldn't think they'd call the police. They'd go up and ask them about it.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I refuse to just take this as a neutral thing and it's fine. Everyone can do this. No, I'm sorry. This is just stupid. This is this is making yourself a target.
That's
If you're
fine, though.
in,
That's okay though.
yeah, but no, it's not okay.
Why?
course it's
The
fine.
Darwin Awards need content from somewhere, dude. I'm just saying, the world's overpopulated as is. Present company not helping either. But this would probably take a pretty decent-sized subsection just right out. I'm okay with that. You can quote me. I am okay with people
the
getting
problem
shot
is, though,
because they
is
have
that-
that.
Yeah, the problem is that the people that actually carry the guns are like the ones that are going to conceal it. So it's only going to be the posers with the phone gun cases that's going to be brandishing them and getting shot. So the people that are actually dangerous are going to have, the good sense to hide the freaking thing. I'm sorry, this just makes you a target in like if you were involved in a robbery or something, or in the wrong place at the wrong time, and you go to pull out your phone to check a text message, someone's going to put you down, and it's just not a good idea. And by the way, I have a little bit of a dog in this hunt. Up here in Maine, we have a bill on the books to allow constitutional carry, which is basically unless you are a convicted felon and you can legally buy a handgun, you will be able to carry it without concealed without any further permitting. So,
All right. And?
So, my point is that one would think that there will be more people carrying weapons at that point because there are less people that are having to be, invasively permitted to get that right. So therefore, there's going to be more people with guns. And if you just happen to pull out your phone to look at, make a call or whatever, and it happens to be in the shape of a gun, if someone thinks that you're drawing that and brandishing it in a threatening manner, they will have the armament on them to put you down. It's a bad idea. Plain and
So
simple.
we have a question from the chat room, Joey. Should this be illegal to own or manufacture?
Well, let's go around the room on that. Eric, what do you think?
No, it should not be illegal to own. No, it should not be illegal to manufacture.
Nick, hit me.
I'm in the same boat. However, I wouldn't buy that or use it, even if given.
Yeah. Shane?
Not only, yeah, I agree with Eric, and I think it would be fine to even make an AR-15 looking one.
That'd be a little
All
cumbersome.
right.
Could you imagine, like, answering your phone like this? Like, hold on. Hello?
Yeah, hold on, bro. Hold on.
I both am for this. I would never use one, but I encourage everyone else to. I think these are make them America. It's America.
it's great.
I also think we're all pale enough that we would be fine.
That's what I'm saying. We need Amber's input on this. He would not buy one of these. I'm just saying.
Oh my goodness, Shane got in on the pale joke, and he wasn't even here when Matt started it. Holy crap!
We should call Amp right now. Actually, he's probably listening, being like those stupid racist motherfuckers. What are they even talking about? I'm gonna shoot him an invite while Eric moves us on to the next topic, and we'll circle back if he replies.
Alrighty. Well, let's see here. What do we want to talk about, guys?
How about the BlackBerry thingy?
I was just thinking that, Joey. Jesus, that's
Great
amazing.
minds.
Let's go over here. So this could be our first look at the BlackBerry Android phone. Y'all just hold on one fucking second, and I will show you what it looks like.
Yeah, I've been waiting for this for years. If this comes true, had a BlackBerry in 2009, 2010.
Does it have NFC or quick charging?
Probably not. It's a BlackBerry.
Look at that. Look at that little
thing.
thing. That ugly sucker. So, let's see here. It will have a...
It's a good effort on their part, I think.
It kind of looks dated. I don't know. It looks a little like a Sony phone had a baby with the Samsung Edge.
So a Samsung Edge Sony love child phone.
Yeah, because it sort of does the rounded edge thing, but it has that thick bezel just at the bottom.
Yeah. It doesn't
Um,
mention the SoC type, but the speed, megapixel on the camera, and 3 gigs of RAM, that's not too bad. I mean, the camera could be complete crap, and be an 18 megapixel camera, but we'll see. 4.5-inch QHD screen, so it could be a pretty hefty one.
Well, the other thing I actually like, they say that they're talking about a slide-out keyboard, and okay, I'll admit that touchscreen, voice recognition, Swift keys, auto fill, which learns from you and analyzes your patterns of typing and whatnot, have done amazing things for making it easier to interact with your smartphone in terms of texting, emails, and whatnot. I'll admit that they have. But quite frankly, there are times when, myself included, I know that there are other people out there that can just simply fly on a keyboard that cannot fly on a touchscreen in terms of the amount of raw data that they can put in. And frankly, if you have a physical keyboard and even more so a touchpad, it really makes the device more usable if you're going to remote desktop into something of a Windows environment, which is something that business users would have a tendency to want to be able to do more so than your consumer user, and BlackBerries have traditionally been aimed at the business market. So the physical keyboard, although they're downplaying it on this particular story, I think actually could be an important feature.
I actually think like the admin phone, because even though we have these large phones, if half the screen is taken up with the keyboard, I don't know. I think it might be a better experience. I think you're right, Joey. Actually, Joey's actually right about something. But
hallelujah, praise the Lord.
I didn't mean to phrase it like that. But I mean,
somebody wrote that down.
I think we forget there are large segments of people who can actually use the full screen, actually have a full screen at all times. Because I mean, is there on the Android phone? If you put it into landscape, the keyboard takes up the entire screen, right?
Yeah, it's like half the screen easily.
Yeah. I don't know if that's. I think it's every. I don't know if that has to happen. So
just on certain keyboards, like the size of it. Do any of you guys type that way though? Like I never type sideways like that.
I do. For me, my thumbs are big enough and my phone's small enough where I need it like this to have any sort of.
On my phone, it always covers up what you're doing because there's not enough room.
Right, that's what I was saying. Like on an admin, that orientation would be better if you're logging into a remote computer, but you lose the screen because of the keyboard.
Right.
So if you slide out the keyboard.
If you were mirroring that on a larger screen, then it would definitely make sense because then you could just make the keyboard the size of your phone. But
yeah, so I could see admins actually liking that a lot.
So speaking of, real quick, the Ingress thing, I literally just got an email from Niantic Labs being all like, oh, hey, this is just a notice of transfer of Ingress personal information. Just a couple things our lawyer said we got to let you know about. We're very excited. More details coming soon. Google's going to transfer to Niantic Labs certain data, right, that you agreed to share. Now, you told us we could share this, so that's what's happening. So yeah, interesting. If you're playing the game, I'm sure you will get that email. And also, Ant Pruitt did chime in. He's walking around taking pictures right now. But he said that he said, I like the idea that today's climate for a black man wouldn't be smart to carry it. But the practical use is great, which I kind of agree, right? A handle is a lot easier.
It's nice in the palm
than a dumb square or rectangle, right? Like, it's a good thing to grab onto, but of course, yeah.
Now, the real question, actually, that we didn't cover on the gun case thing, does the trigger work?
He said this is not something a 240-pound bald black dude should have.
But what is the trigger
shit, I should cancel
do?
that Amazon gift order then.
Right? Cancel that gift order. Oops. It also says if you're in the U.S., make sure to check out the meteor shower tonight because the Perseids are out. So, thank you, Ant. Our roving reporter not getting shot. Cheers.
So I assume that Niantic Labs is just being moved out into the Alphabet umbrella. I mean,
we got a story from Android Central that says that it's not. That's going to be a completely independent company.
they're going to be their own thing. So field
Yeah,
trip.
this really does. This whole Google dividing thing really does feel like a attempt to be proactive and get ahead of the curve and break the company up before somebody makes them break it up.
I don't think it affects that at all.
It makes it so they can do certain things without getting certain
No. Governments can harass companies no matter what.
Sure.
Right. So that right. EU is going to just harass whatever company they can. They may harass both companies. I just don't think it gets them out of any of that.
I think it mostly makes them more nimble. Having smaller companies doing different things rather than one humongous company doing everything, and they can,
Yeah, it also makes it transparent for everybody else. Like people complain that Google is like hiding this Google X stuff, blah blah blah, the budgets. Well, now it's not going to be hidden at all. It's going to be all out in the open. And, so for most people, it's not really going to make a difference, right?
Yeah.
I mean, so yeah, I guess that is kind of weird that NAC is not becoming part of.
And I don't know why. Like English was okay, but I think that like the cooler thing was Field Trip, and like I would think that they would want to keep that within Google because especially with all of the stuff that they do with the with photos, all of the cardboard stuff that they talked about at I/O. You would think that you would want to be like you have Field Trip and you go somewhere and it's like, oh, do you want to see what the inside of this building looks like? Do you want to see what this exhibit looks like before you go?
Yeah, but the contrary to that is that by being a very small part of a very, very, very large company, you don't have necessarily the focus on that product that you would have if you had a much smaller company with a fewer number of products and more to concentrate on.
No, I get that, but the fact that it's not being part of Alphabet, it's going away. Like Google.
But their only reference is to the same post that we've all read, which I don't know. Like Nest is a separate company too, but it's still under the umbrella. I don't.
They said
may be reading into it.
Yeah, you're right. They could be reading into it.
But I mean, I also heard the word independent used a lot in reference to the companies with Alpha. So I'm not saying Android Central is wrong, but I think
Well, another reason why they could do that is to sell off any of these companies. If they want to make a profit by selling it to someone else. So that's an option as well.
Oh, no, it would make it easier to sell stuff, but. It would be weird that Google would back a company and not have it in part of Umbrella, right? Yes, Google.
Well, some companies, like Cisco bought Linksys a few years ago and then sold it. And I think Belkin or D-Link or whoever, someone else got it. I can't remember the details. So I mean, it's not impossible for a company to be purchased by a larger company and then be let go and let it do its own thing. So maybe that's going on.
Well, I mean, PayPal, right? That just happened not that long ago. So, I don't know if we know enough to say it's not part of the alphabet. There's not a whole lot in that email.
I'm looking through the comments to see if they are publicly commenting about it, and nothing yet. So, I don't know. Maybe by next show we will know for sure.
We'll just have to wait for Google I/O.
That's what the I and the O are going to stand for. That's amazing.
In and out, right?
Oh my god. So real quick, you got to talk about an email you got. I just got an email.
Oh.
And that email tells me. Yeah, I know. Wait for it.
Interesting.
It's really good.
Please.
My NVIDIA Shield tablet has shipped.
So yeah, I got the same one.
Shipped to me?
Like 5 minutes ago.
Mine came in at 7:45. I got tracking number and everything.
Okay.
I hope this one explodes too.
I do too. Especially
That'd
since
cool.
it's here. I hope
mine's supposed to be here by Friday.
Nice.
Ooh.
Oh, by the way, fact-checking department, Linksys was owned by Cisco from 2003 to 2013, and has since been purchased by Belkin.
That's
which also
literally
makes
what
me,
Nick said.
yeah, and you're quite correct, Nick. And that also makes me kind of nervous and glad that I'm selling mostly Cisco small business line products now.
Me glad I'm using a Netgear.
Yeah, I have had so many problems lately with the latest generation of Netgear stuff. I am steering everybody I can away from them. They just seem like they lock up and freeze after about a week's worth of use, and they just brick.
What the problem is? I thought I just got a bum Chromecast. No.
No,
mine-
just, if you got a brand new one, like within the past 6 months, and it just bricks itself, you'd be the fourth or fifth person I've run into that's had that happen.
Chromecast or Netgear?
Netgear.
Ah, no, it works. It's probably just the DSL that I'm on. Leaves a bit to be desired, if you know what I mean.
All else fails, blame the ISP.
Yeah, hey,
Worked for me.
I've done my speed tests. I've verified. So there. So, you want to talk about patching fragmentation? Guess what, guys? It's not easy. Eric, would you agree?
That patching fragmentation is not easy.
Yes.
Yeah, it's hard. Yeah, I'm with you. I once broke this thing, like this cup. I tried putting it back together. That shit was difficult.
It's hard, right?
Shane?
Making eggs that are scrambled is hard to make regular eggs with.
I don't have a link to the article we're talking about, but I assume it's about the stage fright stuff.
Yeah, it is.
It is.
I'm gonna give you this link right.
I've already got my updates on my devices, so
Okay there, Patch and Adams.
I'm not doing stupid things to get myself in any sort of trouble. So
the only one I haven't gotten is that my Galaxy Note 4 has not gotten its update through AT&T yet. So let's see here.
So here's the other side of this, the contrary to this, the counterpoint, as it were, to this point. Yes, it is a problem patching a package that is being used on gazillions of different devices because you cannot possibly test every single device and know what it is going to do. That's intuitive, and we understand that. However, here's the other side of the coin. Because, so let's just use a number, 20,000 different configurations are out there using it, it's entirely possible that every single one of them is using it in a slightly different way, and therefore a vulnerability may or may not appear on every single device. So you've got an up and a down. The upside, harder to patch. The upside may or may not actually affect your device. The downside is that it's harder to patch. But quite frankly, this is no different than the teething problems that we've gone through with Linux. You know, somebody puts out a patch to one of the fundamental, core pieces, including a kernel patch, and it gets released, and it doesn't always play well with every single distro. And you know what? You work on it until it does, or you roll it back, and you figure out what went wrong and fix it and re-release. That's just how this works. People have to understand that as these things get more complex, they're less and less like a phone and more like a computer.
If this happens enough, pretty soon we'll go back to the version of Android I'm running, and I'll be right on top of it. I like that. I like that a lot.
I'm glad this article didn't talk about a upcoming Android Securageddon or whatever that one article was referring to. I don't know. I mean, it really depends. As Joey said, it really depends on what the patch is, and some things are probably so low level that it probably is fine for almost every devices, and some things, could be like if it's at the Linux kernel level, it's probably not something that needs to be that's going to be a big deal for distros. But if you start doing things like the launcher or built-in apps, like this other they called Certificate, which was nothing to do with Android, but was some software that OEMs were adding to it. That would be easy to fix. I think this is a lot of panic that people like. If Android, like, there have been millions of Android phones out for years now, right? And yet, when we know gingerbread was not nearly as secure as ice cream sandwich it up, right? And yet, we never had some security problem. Like there's no big exploit that happened. I just don't think it's as easy with mobile phones as people make it out to be to install, to make these to take advantage of these problems. I mean, obviously, if you're downloading apps from random websites on the internet, well, that's all bets are off. But it just doesn't seem like it must not be that easy to get these exploits to happen or to do anything with them because nothing's happened. And that should make anybody complacent. But again, nothing's happened, and Android's only getting more secure.
Maybe it's already happened, and it's just happening in the background, and it's waiting for a D-Day, so to speak, to where every phone is going to explode.
What would happen though? Like
every phone would explode, which would hit a large amount of people. Shane, this is serious business.
I just people are getting into people's Facebook accounts or
no. There's enough. You make them all physically explode. You could do some serious damage.
Yeah. I think the consequences
one problem that I have with this article. There's a quote at the very end. Eric Aristad, boss of the Endpoint Management Business Unit Heat Software, he argued that Google should do more. And I quote, Google has the responsibility and the opportunity to take lead on platform security while also paving the way for ecosystem help/self-help. Google has built and encouraged this in the wild model versus iOS walled garden approach, and with that comes the responsibility to take the lead on device OS platform security. This includes higher requirements for third-party apps, more frequent updates and patches, partner education and enablement, and is evidenced by recent improved practices in terms of responsiveness, update frequencies, and bug bounties. So this guy is saying, well, Google should do X, Y, and Z, which they are already doing. This is why I don't understand. Nobody's putting the feet of the device manufacturers or of the cell phone providers to the fire when they're the ones that are holding up this patching process. It's not Google. Google released a patch for this months ago. Or they had a patch for it months ago. They released the patch for it right away.
I had to say something else was. I know Stage Fright became public, but Samsung was rolling out the patch to AT&T 4 or 5 days after Stage Fright went public. So I have to think they've been working on this for months with the carriers to get a faster release cycle out. So this is kind of coincidental.
This is a hate article. This article's full of haterade. He's just hating.
Oh, the worst was that Ron Amadeo article, which is just the upcoming Android security. There's nothing magical about any other platform that makes it more secure. And I can't believe that if there was a patch, right, or a bug in Android that would potentially harm hundreds of millions of people and customers on the cell phone networks, that they're going to say, no, we won't let the patch. I mean, that's just not going to happen.
Unless it's a backdoor, huh?
I think if there was an actual bug, right, that was going to lead to people's phones being heavily compromised, that I don't think the carriers would stand in the way. And they evidently are not. I don't think they would stand in the way. There'd be too much public.
Hold on. Slow your roll for a second. They might. And the reason why they might is because each provider often loads their own customized software build onto the phones. Let's just say that you have a fundamental code change down deep in the basement of Android. It fixes a bug, but when in the process of fixing that bug, it introduces some other bug in an app that's only on AT&T phones, or only on Verizon phones, or only on huh?
A bug within a bug. I like it. Keep going.
Well, no, it's called recursion.
Inside that bug, then, and now You have a bug within a bug within a bug, and then it crashes.
See, now you're
Buffer
starting to sound like
overflow.
those Russian stacking cup dolls.
I've been reading.
You got the bigger
I've been reading Damnation. I feel like a lot of Russian hacking things right now.
Ah.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, there, Boris Lee.
Matt Lee and his Russian dolls.
Right.
But anyway, my point being that let's just say that there's some fundamental code change, and we see this on Windows all the time. There's a Windows update that's loaded, and it takes a third-party piece of software, and it kills it, or it kills a function, or it makes it really difficult to run, or something along those lines. It does happen, and it's not just something that I'm making up out of the ether here. It actually does happen. And if you had a customized software load that was on all of your devices, and you're a carrier, like I say, Verizon, T-Mobile, whatever, pick one, you introduce that patch, all of a sudden, every single frickin' user that you've got is going to start jamming up your call center lines with technical support requests. Your software and hardware support people are going to be overwhelmed, and they are going to be inundated with a problem that they may not have a fix for. So sometimes a vendor or an ISP or anybody that's loaded software on there will hold back on letting a patch out, not because they're trying to be anti-secure, but because they don't have the time to test it with their software load. So there is a legitimate reason for holding back on it. It may not be a good one, but there is a legitimate reason. And let's face it, if you're an ISP, or excuse me, your phone provider, you don't want to be putting out a update that is going to impact your users, because it destroys the user experience.
Right, but this is not just any bugs. I'm saying a major security bug in Android. No carrier these days wants to be the one that is the insecure network.
The bigger the security bug at this point, the more fundamental the code change is going to have to be, and the greater the likelihood of an incompatibility problem.
Yeah,
in my opinion.
Yeah, well, I don't think that is going to affect carrier software, though.
No,
you don't know until you test it.
Not unless you're buying software, then it might.
Yeah, but I mean, the stage fright bugs went out really quickly. I think the carriers have already agreed to this.
I think that was something that was targeted at some group of people, and then they just sent it out everywhere to hide that fact. And they hit whatever they needed, and now it's over. So don't worry about it.
Don't worry about it. Not all exploits are actually exploitable. Like, you can't actually, if you can't actually get to anything, it doesn't matter if it's exploitable.
You can't speak for yourself.
Yeah.
Bro.
Yeah, but do you remember that LifeLock thing that the guy, they guaranteed that your identity could not be stolen if you used their product? The CEO was like, "Here's my social security number, and I guarantee you can't hack my identity."
Did he
48
really?
hours.
Did he?
Yeah,
He
posted it.
Really?
He posted it. He had it on posters in every frickin' Staples across the country. Right
Really?
there. Buy LifeLock here. Here's my social security number. This is how much I believe in my product. And guess what? 48 hours, it was hacked. Do not challenge a hacker, and do not say that just because the vulnerability has been found, it cannot be done. Cannot is something that does not happen in a hacker logo. Has not is there, but cannot is not.
Yeah, but there's a big difference between a scam like LifeLock and actual stuff like address reload, randomized address spacing for buffer overflows.
Yeah, I think that's the point that is getting covered up, is that, what Shane's talking about, that stage fright becomes much less exploitable, much less scary if you're on anything from ice cream sandwich and above, which, I mean, come on,
Which is
ice cream
90%.
sandwich was years ago. Yeah. So there's a bunch of there's a bunch of crappy little things like little phones sitting out there that nobody's using anymore. Yeah, they could be very vulnerable. Like, for most people, this does not matter.
I actually sold my Galaxy Nexus last week. I don't know if I did this before or after the show, to somebody whose father was still using a Nexus 1. So now we'll be protected against stage fright, for the most part. But that's what that 10% is. It's like people who bought a phone years ago don't really use it for anything other than calls, because God knows there's not much. I mean, there's plenty of apps that you can't run up that haven't been updated for Gingerbread in years, and no one's writing apps targeting Gingerbread anymore.
I've still got a phone that refuses to run anything newer than I think it is Gingerbread. It just won't take an update. It was never released for that hardware.
What the hell phone do you have?
Oh, that's one of my old Verizon phones. That's that LG Optimus, and it's never updated itself since Gingerbread.
Yeah, the Galaxy Nexus was on Jelly Bean. That was up to 4.3. Galaxy Nexus did not get KitKat, right? So Jelly Bean 4.3 is pretty well protected.
Well, in the meantime, Matt, scribble that down, though, in the suggestion box. Someone should really do a show on buffer overflows. Maybe call it the buffer overflow.
He's calling
show.
somebody now. Figure it out.
Yeah. Anyway.
Well, I think that you could probably sum this up. Like, me personally, I don't think that this is a problem with Android fragmentation. It's a problem of too many cooks in the kitchen. There needs to be a more streamlined process between Google, the manufacturers, and the carriers that everybody agrees on that gets this stuff out there more quickly.
Yeah, well, I know in the
sure.
past
Like you're saying, Joey, if the carriers have to they have to test the thing themselves because they want to make sure their experience doesn't get screwed up. That's fine, but there needs to be some better understanding that makes these things get out more quickly.
Well, that's what Microsoft has done with the Windows update. They've bypassed everybody.
No,
they're
they're
just going
on the PCs. They've been less clear on the phones. They have not said how they get past the carriers yet.
Well, I assume that they just do the updates whether the carriers like it or not.
Nope. They have not outlined how they're going to do that. They could. I mean, I expect them to do. I think the carriers are going to be much more open to it because really no one's going to buy Windows phones anyway. So it's probably less work for the carriers to not have to worry about updating the phone. But they have not outlined yet. They've said they're going to try to do it. They've not announced how they're going to work around the carriers yet. Unless you buy an unlocked phone, same as Android and Google.
Well, on a more positive note, according to this study, Android user loyalty has actually surpassed the iPhone.
Wait. But Tim Cook talks about how switching is higher than ever. How can that be? I'm mocking Tim Cook and his ridiculous distortions.
Thanks for clearing that one up, Shane.
Yeah.
Switching is an all-time high, but they never mentioned what that percentage is. Was the switch percentage 0.5% and now it's 0.75? Has it gone from 10% to 15%? I mean, they don't outline that.
According to this article, over the last 2 years, Consumer Intelligence Research Partners, CIRP, horrible acronym, has found that over the past 2 years, 82% of Android users stick with Android, while 78% of iOS users stick with iOS. So, all right, I will grant you that 4 percentage points is not a huge deal, but I would also grant that the absolute number of people that are sticking with iOS versus that are sticking with Android has got to be lower because there are fewer people out there on iOS devices. We know this based upon iOS device sales versus Android sales.
I mean, there's like 1.5 billion.
Yeah.
A billion Android phones and maybe 300 million iPhone users.
I wonder what the average turnover rate for these phones are. Do Android users switch more often or upgrade more often than iOS users?
Yeah, and actually, that's only we're talking about Google. Like, if you look at the numbers of mobile users that are on Facebook, it's like 1.3 billion. Most of those are Android users, right? So I mean, the number of Android, like Android can have a loyalty a lot smaller than iOS and still have tons more users coming.
Yeah, well, Android has a wider range of users from the $100 phones to the $700 phones, and Apple's, all their phones, new, are fairly expensive, so it's just hard for iOS to keep up in total numbers because of that.
Yeah, let's not underestimate that. There's also a lot of loyalty to Google, because let's face it, Google services on Android phone are awesome.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's also wise to call an analogy. If you remember correctly, one of the big execs, it might have even been Steve Jobs at Apple, said, well, we may only have 1% of the PC market, or 4% or whatever it was, but we have the top 1 or 4%, whatever it was. And he was making the comment that we have, the best users, and you want to be in Club Apple. Well, you could say the same thing about the iOS device. It's more expensive, and quite frankly, if you've already had an iOS device, it's much less. I would think that you're much less likely to switch because you've already got apps that you've purchased and whatnot. However, what this is showing is that more and more people are switching to Android. The question is, and those that have Android are staying with Android. They're not switching back to iOS. Is that for the same reason? Because they've already got their apps purchased? Is it because the phones are cheaper? Is it because they're able to get the phone for free instead of having to pay $100 when they start their new contract?
Probably all of the above.
Any and all.
It's weird that it also correlates with the slow phase out of the subsidy.
Yeah,
where the price. I realize that you can still, you can still pay the same amount, but psychologically you're being told you're buying an $800 phone versus you're buying a $200 phone.
Yeah.
But that means that, I don't know if that, I'm just saying it also correlates with that. But I think there's a lot of Google loyalty, and I think people appreciate how well the Google stuff works.
Yeah.
Do any of you guys ever have to use an iPhone for an extended period of time?
Thankfully, I've never had to.
Yeah,
I have the box for one that I use as a doorstop.
It's really awful. Yeah, it figures the government would use iPhones, right?
Well, we have a choice. I think there's a choice, but I chose iPhone over BlackBerry.
That's not a choice.
That's not a choice. That's the difference between being handed a mid-sized sedan and a smart car.
Is there a choice, really, Eric? No.
Why is Android not a choice? Knox is Samsung Knox stuff is government approved.
I think it will. I think it will become a choice soon. It's just not yet. Maybe the.
Which iPhone do you have
then? So I have the 5S, and it is it's frustrating to use. I don't really use it for anything other than phone calls for work.
Is it me, or is the thing that you miss the most a back button?
I don't miss that. I miss a good keyboard. I hate the iPhone keyboard.
Yeah, that's the two things that I consistently complain about with some of my customers that have iDevices are, one, the blasted lack of a back button. You always have to go home and then start again every single time you want to load an app. Even if you just want to go backwards one page, you have to hit the home thing and go all the way back and start over again unless there's a built-in back button. And there isn't always. And the other thing that I really hate is that when you go into the keyboard and you're typing away, it is impossible to tell whether you're in caps or in lowercase without looking at the little freaking bar, because the case on the letters on the keyboard does not change if you are capitalized or if you are in lowercase. And to me, that is just stupid, because Android's done that ever since the first version. It cannot be that hard. And it is a visual thing that tells you, okay, I'm typing in lowercase, or okay, I'm typing in caps. It's not that hard. It's not that big a deal. But from a user standpoint, I'm always constantly looking at the iDevice and going, am I typing in caps or am I typing in lowercase? I can't tell. All right, look, I got to move my finger out of the way to check for that line glowing. Oh, good, the line isn't glowing. I am typing in lowercase, even though the keyboard doesn't reflect it. Just drives me nuts, particularly if you're typing in something like a Wi-Fi password that has to have the capitalization or not as required, and you cannot visually tell from the keyboard what you're in, and it's just
And for some reason, we still don't show passwords on the screen. You know, the likelihood of somebody looking over your shoulder on a phone is much less. Notifications are dreadful on iOS. And if you're using it as a work phone where you have to respond to stuff, just awful. Like, you can literally come back to an iPhone a week later and find 20 or 30 notifications you didn't even know you had, because there's no indication on the phone that you have them. So I know people think as working in app development, seeing what you can do as an Android dev, just here I have a whole bunch of notifications. I had no idea were even there. They're just gone. What was I going to say? There are just a lot of limitations with iOS, and I don't really think that the apps are really any better. I think when you spend $800 on a phone, you convince yourself that the apps are better. And the biggest proof
you paid $5.99 for an app that's free on Android.
Yeah. Or the biggest thing proof is that all the Apple pundits saying, well, I have this Apple Watch, I hardly even need to use my iPhone, which tells me that they don't really need an iPhone, and two, that that the iPhone is they're really not doing anything with the iPhone anyway, because this is nothing that particularly interesting about it for most people. I mean, you have to spending $600 just because the notifications on your phone are terrible, which is what the Apple Watch is.
By the way, down at the bottom on this article, it actually contradicts itself in that Apple believes that a record number of people are switching from Android to iPhone based upon their recent iPhone 6 rollout. That's from their April to July 2015, Tim Cook, on an earnings call, said that Apple saw the, quote, highest switcher rate from Android that we've ever measured, end quote.
But that doesn't mean anything. What are you comparing it to?
Well, that's the thing, is that it doesn't...
I'm sure that finally getting big phones like Android's had for years got them the highest switch rate they've ever had before. But that doesn't mean anything. Okay.
I think, personally, I think that it's one of those things where people are curious. Their contract's up. They said, well, you know what? I'm going to try the iPhone this time. And maybe I like it, maybe I don't.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, whatever phone works the best for you. I think Android's integration is better. I like it that you can... if you don't like Chrome as your default browser, you can put Firefox or Dolphin. You don't have to use a built-in mail client. You don't have.
You can change up all your keyboards. Yeah.
Yeah, multiple keyboards. Like you actually can make it your phone. Whereas honestly, with iOS, everybody's phone is like probably 75% the same.
I will comment, however, that when I was working 2 jobs ago, I did a lot of one-on-one IT with some very high-profile users that had mainly iDevices. And the absolutely wonderful part about having the iDevices was that on, I'm going to say 75% of that particular small user base, they all had the same phone, or at least the same iOS version, and everything worked exactly the same on every single phone. There was none of this, my keyboard's customized, there's none of this, okay, this app version works, this app version doesn't. So the very openness and ability to customize the Android experience that makes it very good for those of us that like to play with things and know what we're doing and can get ourselves into and out of trouble with our devices is the exact opposite experience if you don't know what you're doing or you're in a support scenario and have to support something. Knowing that you're going to be on a consistent platform with buttons that are always in the same place and settings that are always in the same place, no matter which generation of a device you have, is a very warm and fuzzy feeling for anybody that's ever done IT. So there are some advantages to having the consistent platform. But I personally feel that the openness of the Android platform outweighs all of those advantages.
Who wants to be the big voice on the screen? We all want to be the woman throwing the hammer, right?
Yeah, so a couple of things real quick, and then we'll move on to one more story. First, Shane, I do want to maybe correct you a little bit and say that you can switch from a lot of these default apps on iPhone. Like I installed Swipe. Like, I guess it's better than nothing. It's better than that stupid default keyboard. Like iOS has opened up a little bit in recent years. So
but you
it's
can't switch browsers. You can't switch maps. You can't switch SMS.
I think you can switch browsers.
You can use other browsers. The default will always be Safari.
Yeah, but how many people actually know and actually care?
All right, guys. Well, one last story, and then we'll wrap this thing up. I know that you've probably, everybody on this chat has looked at their TV and said, you know what, I wish that was a giant touchscreen device. Well, now it's possible. TouchJet Wave. It's a company that is aiming to make your stupid freaking TV into a touchscreen. It's running Android 4.4. It is a little thing that sort of perches on the top of your TV. It plugs in via HDMI, and after a little calibration, you're up and running with Android. So, what do you guys think? It's really stupid, or really, really stupid? Nick, go.
I think that's pretty cool, but I mean, to be honest, as far as
that wasn't a choice, Nick. You had a choice. Really stupid.
Really?
No, go ahead.
It's
Sorry.
pretty cool, but the only problem is most people, they call it a 10-foot experience for a reason. They're generally not that close to a television set. So, but it'd be interesting to try, but I don't think most people would even use it, even if they bought it.
Hold it right here, right?
Yeah.
You gotta hold it basically in a cardboard box.
Well, I mean, if your television set is right next to your bed or something, you can just go, yeah, whatever, but most of the time they're quite a bit further away.
I'm reminded of when I was a kid, and my grandma would always yell at me for sitting too close to the television. And this promo video has these two kids that are just like, they're right up on this TV, like swiping, playing Fruit Ninja and shit.
Eric, that's because when you were a kid, TVs were dangerous. And in them that could explode and or blast you with radiation.
Yeah, that shit could fall on you, and then you're not getting up again.
And what? There's a reason everybody has them just sitting outside of their apartment. Maybe that's
This reminds me of that 20, this was years ago we talked about this, but I think it was Asus maybe, they're making like a 24-inch computer that you could like lift up off of its stand, and then it went from Windows to an Android tablet. Like, this seems like that, just like way bigger and way heavier.
See, that was only kind of stupid, and I wanted that. This other one.
This is really, really stupid.
Really, really.
Yeah,
stupid.
I don't want to get fingerprints all over my TV.
Okay, hold on a minute. This is not really stupid.
Fine, Joey, tell us.
Tell us why this is like gonna cure cancer or some shit.
It's not gonna cure cancer. Well, indirectly. But what this is, honestly, this is a virtual whiteboard. You put this thing in the middle of a conference room or a collaboration or a team center with a team environment, and people can walk up and touch the screen and manipulate the data and draw conclusions and move things around like a virtual whiteboard.
Yeah, I could see it for presentations in that kind of environment where you're actually having to stand in front of it, and it'd be a lot better than a whiteboard. So yeah.
Yeah. That's what this is. In all seriousness, that is the most practical application of a touchscreen that large that you obviously have to touch. Otherwise, I mean, it might makes sense for, artists or somebody that wants to have a virtual Etch-a-Sketch that's on a 60-inch screen. You know what I mean? But or like a Wacom tablet on steroids.
Yeah. It's like being a weatherman.
Exactly. This would be the weatherman in your house. I could start doing Weather Channel remotes from my living room. So, and over here, this is the storm front, and those of you over here in Cincinnati, if you love today, you're gonna absolutely adore tomorrow. So
This is a solution in search of a problem.
I don't think so. I think that this is a niche problem with a niche solution. I really do feel like this could work very well for team collaboration environments as a virtual whiteboard.
That's just being.
Now, how would this differ from like an actual whiteboard? Why would this be better than an actual whiteboard?
It's more expensive.
Eric,
You know how much a whiteboard is?
Eric,
Not less than this thing.
No, honestly, in all seriousness, a 20 by 30 whiteboard is about $40. So if you were to actually get a 60-inch whiteboard, it's probably close to $100, which is what this is. And guess what? You can save this and take it back to your desks and manipulate it later.
Eric,
Why is Matt laughing at me?
Eric,
Yes, Matt.
what's our email address?
Well, if you'd like to send us a giant whiteboard, you can do so at show@attackoftheandroids.com.
Oh, good Lord. I want a giant whiteboard.
You can get one.
I didn't mean to interrupt that amazing conversation. It's just we have to end the show. But thank you, attackoftheandroids.com. Thank you for listening. Stitcher, iTunes, leave us a review, especially about how good our conversation skills are. I appreciate it. Thank you. Okay, thank you.